CustomShirtInc.com. Phone 888-626-7636. Friday forecast is calling for clouds and showers today, 43 to 49, and a north wind 10 to 15. Chance of showers overnight, mostly cloudy, 33 to 39 for the low. Rain showers expected Saturday in the mid-40s, and then partial clearing Saturday night, but another shot of some rain showers Sunday, partly sunny in the mid-50s. Jonesboro, that's your KLEK 102.5 FM weather.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Police in Florida say the teenager accused of killing 17 people in a gun attack at a school has confessed to the shootings. Turkey and the US say they've agreed to try and defuse the situation in northern Syria, where their forces back different factions. Oxfam is promising justice for any victims of exploitation by its staff, and authorities are trying to close in on an Indian jeweller popular among Hollywood stars who's been accused of a $1.8 billion bank scam.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Friday. It's February 16th, 2018. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. I'm joined by Mrs. Quabila Jones, and today we are joined by Arkansas State Senator Mr. John Cooper, and we're so honored to have Senator Cooper in the studio with us today. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about his background and some of the issues that are currently confronting the state of Arkansas, and even some of the legislation he has worked to pass. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. How are you doing today, Senator Cooper?
Doing real good. Appreciate the invitation to be with you, and it's my first time here, and well, it's good to be with you.
We certainly hope that it's not your last time here as well. All right, so Senator Cooper, go ahead and just kind of start by telling the listeners and our viewers just a little bit about yourself, your background, and what made you decide to get into politics and into this position.
I moved up here in 1980 from Searcy to take a job with Southwestern Bell Telephone Company. Then it was Southwestern Bell Telephone. It's now AT&T again. I managed the long-distance operations here in Jonesboro for about 20 years. Retired, took a little time off and started a small business, and then got interested in some political issues, and somebody suggested I run for office, and I did that, and was elected to the Senate in January of 2014. Finished out a term from a special election. That was a special election, and then I was elected unopposed to the term that I'm presently in.
We thank you so much for choosing to run and serve, and talk about some of the rewards that the rewarding aspect of being in this position and serving Arkansas.
There's no doubt to me what the most rewarding thing public service is, and that's the constituency services. Okay. A lot of the calls that I get from constituents, probably 80% of them, fall into two categories. One of those is child health care or child issues, and the other is health care.
Okay.
And probably the ones that we affect the most or can affect the most is health care. And a lot of the times people decide to call their state representative or their state senator, they're pretty frustrated with issues that maybe they don't understand or something, and looking for help. And so that's what makes it so rewarding, is to be able to help people work through those issues. And we can't always give people the the answer that they'd like to hear, but we can get an answer.
That's right. All right.
And just being able to pick up the phone and call somebody in the state agency or something and get them to work on an answer and get back to us is very satisfying.
Alrighty.
We have a couple of Facebook shouts. Shout out to Amanda Moffett Donovan and Cade Holliday. Appreciate y'all for checking in on our Facebook Live feed. We are speaking with Arkansas State Senator Mr. John Cooper. And Senator Cooper, you mentioned about children and health care. So we're going to go ahead and get into a topic that you are very passionate about, that you feel very strongly about, which is the Arkansas Works program. So I just kind of want you to explain to the listeners a little bit about the program, your involvement in it, and also, since you mentioned the children, what is the future of the program going forward? Because, there has been talk of defunding the CHIP program. I think that's the national one that provides money to states for child's education. So just kind of tie all of that together.
I don't see the CHIP program being defunded. I'm not hearing that at the state level.
Okay.
So I don't think that's going to happen. From the healthcare side of that, Arkansas Works particularly, which is the second generation from what was known as private option before that. It's a very important program, I believe, and it's very important medically. In the Delta, we are underserved medically, and there's a lot of health issues that are unique to the Delta. And of course, it's been a controversial program, but the more you learn about it and what the benefits are, both from a healthcare standpoint and from a standpoint of what it means for our state financially, there's positive aspects of both of those. And I'm a strong supporter of it, and we are modifying it to some extent right now. And we've put efficiencies in there that has made it more efficient, and it's a very important program for our state, and I'm not reluctant to defend it.
All right. Due to the high level of disparities in the rural areas, what are some ways that legislators or you yourself maybe are working to increase either healthcare options or knowledge of healthcare in those rural areas? And
improving access to healthcare for those people.
Right. I think education is very important in healthcare because preventive care is very important to stopping disease or preventing disease or getting people in a situation where they're not in a crisis situation and wind up at the emergency room. Okay. Emergency room is the most expensive and less desirable way to treat people health care wise. If we can get them a provider where they see their provider on a regular basis on preventive care, we can do a lot for their health. Okay. And the Arkansas Works program, I think, has done a lot in regard to that, but it's also made our hospitals put them on a better trajectory path financially, where they're just not treating people in the emergency room, which is basically winds up in uncompensated care for them. Right. So I'm beginning to get into the financial aspect of it there, but those two are the highlights, I think, of the system.
We have a Facebook comment. Amanda Donovan says, "Good morning, Senator Cooper. Good morning, Gansey and Q." Well, Amanda, good morning to you, and thank you for your comment. Of course, if you have a question or a comment for Senator Cooper, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, the phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can leave your questions and your comments on our Facebook Live feed.
All right, so another issue that Arkansas, not just Arkansas, but individuals across different states, but today we're focused on Arkansas. Medicaid, I know you mentioned Arkansas Works, but the Medicaid program as a whole, can you talk about maybe some revisions that may be coming or people may be facing, or some additions, just the program as a whole?
Let me give you a little bit of an overview of Medicaid. It's basically divided into two sections: the Arkansas Works program, which is 20 to 25% of Medicaid, and the standard Medicaid itself is about a $5.3 billion program.
Okay.
There's where most of the medical services is in traditional Medicaid. The Arkansas Works is a smaller piece of that, but most of the publicity is surrounding the Arkansas Works aspect of it.
Okay.
Most of the work as far as reforming the Medicaid, as far as what the public sees, is under the Arkansas Works side of that because of the waivers and stuff that the state is requesting on how to make it more efficient.
Okay.
And some of our software and things like that was not very efficient when it started, and there was maybe abuse, but not everything that was out there that was wrong was because of fraud.
Okay.
There was people on there that had gotten lost in the system. Maybe they had two addresses or something like that. It was not, in some of those cases, it was not necessarily people trying to defraud the system. It was just the system was not keeping up with where they were in situations like that. There were people that had moved out of state. Of course, when you're out of state, you're not eligible for the system. But now we're able to track that kind of thing and reduce the numbers on there by 117,000.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the criticism on that had to do with the amount of growth that was not sustainable financially for the state.
Okay.
But now, we had a task force that studied that program, and we were able to put in software programs that are more efficient now. By the way, I was a member of that task force, so
right.
I've sent through many, many hours of medical discussion on that. So actually, I love to talk about it because it's so valuable to our state in many, many ways.
Yes, sir. Well, we thank you so much for doing the work that you do to help get the Arkansans the help that they need. I know that everything's not perfect, but
Right.
every day there's
Never will be, but we're working
So-
in that direction.
So, but we thank you for the efforts that you do put in to improve the quality of the
Right.
current program.
Thank you.
And of course, speaking of healthcare, what about mental health? Of course, here in Craighead County, they've been trying to get the crisis unit and have not been very successful with that. But is there anything that you can do as a senator, or that the Senate and legislature can do to ensure that there's more access for people who have mental health issues?
Mental health issues is a very important part of that, and that's been one of the things that's been at the top of my agenda. I think we will still get the crisis unit. I think that the funding is going to be there for it, and it's just a matter of working out the details of that and getting it established. But I don't think that's off the table by any stretch of the imagination now. We're going to get that. Mental health treatment is very expensive. There's many aspects to it. We need to continue to work on that and do better on mental health treatment. You get into very complex and sad situations concerning mental health, and we're looking at a school shooting that just occurred, and just takes your heart out, when you think about, and all unnecessary, situations of natural disasters, tornadoes, storms, floods, things like that, nobody can prevent is one thing, but to have something like that occurred where somebody just comes in and does something totally uncalled for, and we need to do a better job in tracking some of those issues with people and trying to prevent those things before they happen.
And those are some of the things that I'm learning in my criminology class this semester. That was unfortunately our topic of discussion for this week concerning school shootings and what are some preventative measures that can be taken to possibly prevent this from happening. We know that most criminals do have, some criminals, not most, some of them have some mental illness that has presented itself, but it often goes overlooked or just kind of pushed under the rug and pushed to the side. And so I would love to see more preventive measures taking
Right.
place across the board. When we recognize someone has an issue, give them the help that they need to hopefully prevent future things from happening.
I agree, and I think we can do that going forward. And there's some things in Arkansas Works and in traditional Medicaid that I think we'll be able to do some of that in the future, maybe better than we have in the past, perhaps. And that's still one of my priority issues.
Right here.
And you mentioned, and we are speaking with Senator John Cooper of the Arkansas Legislature. We're talking about the situation with the recent shooting. Of course, the Arkansas Legislature. Did the law pass about the open carry?
There was a bill that passed, I believe it's called Act 746, if I remember the number correctly. That passed before I was in the legislature. In the last session, there was also another piece of legislation that passed concerning additional locations that people could carry.
I know there's been debate over being able to carry on school campuses,
Right.
which has been hotly debated. But just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I did not support that bill. I know there's probably some people out there that think I did. But I had reservations about that. I do not believe that guns have a place in the classroom. And I don't think that the Second Amendment necessarily means that we have to just throw the door open for every situation. We don't allow somebody to own a tank.
Okay.
So, but I didn't vote against it. I voted present on that bill, which is in effect a no vote. I guess I wanted to kind of send a message that I was not going to vote for that bill. And there were some amendments that came along on that bill that made it a better bill if it were to pass.
Okay.
And I voted for those amendments. But for the overall legislation, I did not support it.
All right, once again, we are speaking with State Senator Mr. John Cooper. And, of course, if you have any questions or comments for Senator Cooper, please give us a call at 277-1080 or leave your comments on our Facebook Live feed. And we've got another one from Amanda who says, I totally agree, proactive care versus reactive care. So, Amanda, we definitely appreciate those comments.
Yes.
So, Senator Cooper, what are some of the other things that are currently going on in the legislature right now? What are some of the other issues and topics that are being debated?
Right now, let me lead into this by saying that since I've been there, I've been on some very important committees. Healthcare, I was on the healthcare task force. I'm on agriculture, joint budget, ALC, personnel, and always some of the most controversial issues come through public health. One of the things that I think you will probably see a press release on today from the governor's office has to do with something that we're going to probably be working on this year concerning occupational regulation. And the governor, I think, from what I'm hearing later today, will announce the names of people that will be involved in that effort. So you might look for that later today.
Okay.
Right now, we're in the middle of a fiscal session, and fiscal means that what we do is pay the state's bills and do the bills that fund the agencies. We're not going to be doing very much general legislation during this session. We passed quite a few bills funding the cash agencies, which is not involving as much taxpayer money. They mostly, cash means that they fund their own work out of fees that they provide or that they charge their people that are members of their organization.
Okay.
So this does not involve tax money, yet we still approve the budget. But we'll get further into the big funding of the agencies this coming week, and there is an issue that a lot of people have been talking about, is involving the pharmacy issue concerning reimbursements for pharmacies. You might know it by the term the PBM issue, which is the prescription benefit managers. Those are organizations that control a lot of the prescriptions that are given out for people in the state. And it has to do with the funding issue, whether it's fair or not, and it's a big issue with their pharmacists because they say they're being actually reimbursed at levels that are actually below their cost. It is a real issue. We are very in tune to that. It has to be fixed. Right now, the manner of fixing it is the issue. It's not whether it needs to be fixed, it's how we fix it.
Okay. All right.
Got about a minute left in this segment. We're speaking with State Senator John Cooper, and when we come back from our break in just a little bit, we will have more questions and comments from Senator Cooper about several of the issues that are affecting the great state of Arkansas. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with more with Senator John Cooper. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Why is home the hardest place to lead? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. It's tough to lead at the office. You have constant HR headaches, cash flow issues, and operational problems, just to name a few. But it's a lot tougher to lead at home. Why? First, you can't fire your children. You're a parent forever, no matter what your children say or do. Second, there is no paid or unpaid time off. You are always on the job, 24/7, doing their laundry, helping with homework, carpooling them to school, practice, and games. Third, there are no salaries, bonuses, or raises. As a parent, you are more like a constant ATM. Remember, your family first.
Submit your dad for the Omaha Steaks All-Pro Dad of the Year at omahasteaks.com/Dad of the Year.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by
Fullness of Joy Ministries, 2120 Thorn Street, Jonesboro, under the direction of Bishop Adrian Rogers and co-pastor Susan Rogers. www.fjministries.org.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK with our guest, Arkansas Senator Mr. John Cooper, talking about all of the various things going on in the Arkansas legislature and some of his stance on the issues.
All right, so now we're going to get into some of the legislation that you have personally had a hand in passing or helping to get passed or have presented. So this list is quite lengthy, so we probably won't be able to get into every single one.
Right.
But if you would give us some highlights, ones that are near and dear to you that you would like to point out.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of an overview. My first session, I think I filed 25 bills.
Okay.
18 of those passed, which is a very high pass rate. I didn't run 4 of the ones that did not pass, so I think I only lost 3 by vote. And a lot of my legislation passes by overwhelming majorities in the Senate, so that gives you a little basis of what kind of legislation I run.
Okay.
I try to run high quality legislation. I do not want to run junk just to pass bills.
Okay.
So if you look down this list, I don't think it shows up on yours, but there's one that that's at the top of the list here was providing annexation by 100% partition.
Okay.
That simply means that for a city annexing a piece of property, if all of the surrounding areas want to be annexed and the city wants to annex them, there's no use having an election.
Okay.
Let them petition that and then make sure all of the rules are followed as far as the documents and everything that are in place documenting that property. And that's an expedited way and a more efficient way of handling annexations, and that passed.
Okay.
There's another one that I passed in the first session, and that was SB 4. It's called the Right to Try Act.
Okay.
It's down about half page there, and the president actually mentioned this type of legislation in his State of the Union the other day. And basically what the Right to Try effort is to give terminally ill patients the right to request and be given experimental treatments that has not yet fully passed FDA approval and into commercialization. That is literally an effort for a patient to be able to save their life. And
I'm sure along with this, for any terminally ill patient that agrees to receive these treatments, they have to sign numerous waivers.
Not really. The process, the way it works is a physician, they work with a physician, and the physician will recommend some treatment.
Okay.
Maybe the patient can do some research and suggest a certain thing to the patient, but it has to be done in connection with a physician.
Oh.
And what we did in regard to that is we give the physicians that work on these immunity from licensing repercussions.
That was what I was wanting to know.
And in fact, it was kind of an interesting situation. This is probably one of the most voted bills because we had it out on the Senate side, and then somebody came to me and said, would you consider amending that? Well, you don't normally want to amend something that's already been through committee and been already back to the floor again. And I said, what's wrong? And they said, we forgot about UAMS physicians because they're state employees.
Okay.
So yes, I said we'll do that. So by my request, it was referred back to committee again, revoted in committee where I presented the amendment to it. Then it came back to the Senate floor where it passed, and we were only the 5th state to do that in the country.
Okay.
And now it's passed 38 states. It's passed one house of Congress. It's still being considered in the other house of Congress there, but I think it's very good legislation, and probably ultimately something along that line will be done at the federal level.
Okay.
Let's see. There was also one on here concerning telemedicine. I'm very passionate about telemedicine. That's the top of the page on the second page. And by the way, your listeners, if they want to look up these pages that we're looking at, can go on the legislative site and look under my legislation, and all these bills are listed there.
And looking at the bottom of this page, the website is ARKLEG, arcleg.state.ar.us. Again, that's arcleg.state.ar.us, and you can search by the bill. It looks like for the one that he was just talking about the I'll just use the annexation one since the first one on here, SB 305.
The one that I'm actually talking about now is SB 845, telemedicine. That bill did not actually pass. There were two telemedicine bills in the legislature that session, and mine did not pass, but the other one did. In the last session we passed another telemedicine bill, and it's almost identical to mine that I presented the first time. So I'm very satisfied with my work that I did on telemedicine, and that's very important, I think, to our health care.
Well, can you explain what it means?
Telemedicine is means of physicians being able to interact with patients in a different location than where the physician actually is. Okay. They're not physically in the same room, but through remote video, remote technology.
We're seeing that pop up more at the NYIT facility on our campus of Arkansas State University. Mm-hmm. They have essentially a monitor, almost life-size, that they can interact with physicians from all around the world.
Yeah, because I remember when they gave a tour of that facility before it opened, I went into one of those rooms, and yeah, you're right, it's about as tall as a standard door, and the professor was in New York, and he said, "Come here," and so give me a fist bump, and and so
the clarity of all of that is very good these days, and this is the way that some treatments are going to be administered in the future, and we need to be on the cutting edge of that.
Do you think this would be beneficial for individuals that live in the more rural or remote areas?
Absolutely. That's where it's most beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of rural residents, of course, in order to have things like this, they will need access to technology and internet. And of course, there are some rural areas where broadband access is still limited at best. Do you foresee any initiative, any effort to help expand broadband access to rural areas?
Well, keep in mind that whether telemedicine exists or not does not necessarily depend on broadband. There's a lot of things you can do on your cell phone.
Okay.
That would serve certain purposes for this. Largely, the use of it is for somebody to go into a nearby facility where there's a nurse or somebody like that, or some healthcare professional, and they have a setup like you're talking about. It may be a broadband link, but I don't necessarily think it would require in every situation broadband.
Okay.
But it does in some situations require a professional to be nearby, whether it be a nurse, and then they can be connected with a physician or a specialist in a remote location without having to go physically to that location.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to another item on the list.
One of the bills that I think I'm most proud of was the redesignation of I-555.
Okay.
From Highway 63 to I-555. That was my bill. One of the unique things about that was we had a section down around Mark Tree where it was very expensive, or going to be very expensive, to build a service road off to the side for farm vehicles to travel. So both federal law and state law had to do a waiver on that for the interstate for farm equipment to be able to travel a short length of that highway, because on a true interstate that's not allowed. Slow-moving farm equipment's not allowed. So we did a waiver for that little short section of about a mile or so.
Okay.
There where the farm equipment could get on, get off. And so we got those waivers done. Congressman Crawford did it at the congressional level, and I ran the bill at the state level, and we were able to do that and get this highway designated now, which is very important for economic development. And when a business is looking to locate somewhere, they look to see whether or not it's served by an interstate.
Okay. And I'm sure those that travel that road are greatly appreciative of the efforts that went into improving the quality of travel along those roads. Okay. I'm looking through the list, and there's quite a few different pieces of legislation I think that would be of importance to people to really go through and kind of look at and see how it affects you and your family or those that you know. What's another one you would like to highlight?
Well, I did two bills, worked with the teacher retirement, and there was two bills in this last one. It's SB 141 and 142. Actually, these two pieces of legislation were brought to me by the director of the teacher retirement system. One of them had to do with the audit, where in theory, the auditor should not be reporting to the person that they audit.
Okay.
So that was the situation, and so this bill was to give some independence to the auditor in the teacher retirement system, so that he wouldn't be in the direct chain of supervision of the director, which was being audited.
Okay.
Let's see. There was another one that had to do, and this is kind of complicated, but had to do with the average salary of some individuals, highly compensated individuals, so that a spike in salary could not significantly affect the retirement salary.
Okay.
So that, you see the point there, so that somebody could not get a huge increase in salary in the last year they worked, and it give them a tremendous increase in their retirement system. It's averaged out over a period of time, and that was what that was designed to do.
All right. I want to touch on this one about Arkansas State University. Like, what was that one about? SB 486, General Improvement Appropriation.
That was, I don't remember exactly what that was doing, but it was for some situation that gave Arkansas State University some funding for some program specific to them.
Alrighty. So, SB 301 to allow the Department of Health to share immunization registry data with federal, state, and local jurisdictions.
That is one I'm very happy to give you the details about.
Okay.
There was a situation where across state lines, the Department of Health in Arkansas, because of privacy rules, could not share immunization data for children in school.
Okay.
So what that means is, if there was, say for instance, Missouri, if a student moved to Arkansas from Missouri, even though they were current on their immunization records in Missouri, Arkansas had no real means of verifying that. So, you're looking at dual immunizations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a couple of other situations that not as blatant as that one maybe, but we needed to fix that, so that they could share that immunization data, so that they could tell on record whether or not a student had been properly immunized before and not have to go through another round of immunizations. So we got that done.
Okay. I guess you had any.
Well, I'm looking through the list and let's see what I can find on here. SB 143 to revise various provisions concerning election procedures.
That was a fairly minor bill, as I would characterize minor.
Okay.
It was mostly just a streamlining bill that had to do with absentee ballots.
Okay.
Getting back in and having enough time to count absentee ballots before the election was certified.
Okay.
So we adjusted the time frames there a little bit to allow that to take place so that people voting absentee could actually have their votes counted.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got one. This is a fun one that I don't think there probably shouldn't have been a single no vote on. To SR2 to congratulate the Arkansas State University Red Wolves football team for winning the Sun Belt Conference Championship in the Auto Nation Cure Bowl.
That was a piece of legislation just to publicize the success of Arkansas State University and their athletic program, and give them a little bit of publicity and recognition for doing that.
You would think that would have to go through the House or Senate, or I guess we just don't understand. A lot of Arkansans don't understand what all has to go through the House, through the Arkansas House legislation.
Let me explain a little bit about that. Senate resolutions are they're not binding in statute.
Okay.
It's a sense of the way people feel.
Okay.
So the House does that and the Senate does that, but we don't have to vote on House resolutions and they don't have to vote on Senate resolutions. This is unique to our body.
Okay.
On all statutory legislation bills, it has to. The process is, let's say I file one on the Senate side, it is assigned over to some Senate committee. And remember, in the Senate, we have 35 Senate members, and we have only 8 members on any particular A or B committee. So on the House side, they have 100 members, and their committees, I believe, I have 20 on them over there. So a piece of legislation, if it's a Senate bill, it's read from the Senate over to a Senate committee. It's assigned to one of the committees. Then we take that legislation and present it to the members of the Senate that's on that committee. If they vote it out, it takes 5 of the 8. It takes 5 positive votes.
Okay.
And remember that people that are not there can't vote yes. So it has to be 5 votes of the people that are there.
Okay.
So what would happen if you said it was 8 on the committee, so what would happen was if only 4 came? Didn't pass, just
you can't
killed it dead.
Yeah. That's if you walk in to present a bill and you only see 4 members sitting there, for the most part you might as well get up and leave, because you're not going anywhere with that probably. And in a lot of legislation, you're going to have 1 or 2 that are probably going to oppose it a lot of time. But when you only have 8 members, it's important to get as many there as you can, because there's a lot of legislation that live or die. It lives or dies in the Senate on 1 to 2 votes.
Oh. Do people just not show up simply because they don't want to vote on it? They don't care for that bill? They just they don't want to discuss it?
Protest or?
Well, I don't know that there's that much. Realistically, there's some of that. But for the most part, during session when we're running these bills, and I've had this happen to me, I've had legislation that it be assigned at the same time to 2 separate committees. You can't be in 2 places at once, and there's a lot of times when we operate on about a 10-minute schedule. Yeah. And everybody is trying to run their own bills as well as vote on other people's bills.
Okay.
So if you've got a piece of your legislation that's going to be heard in a committee, you're probably not going to be in the other committee where you're a member. So
there's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot of moving parts, and you have to be patient with that. Just because it's there that day doesn't mean that you lose. You can rerun it at another time when you can get more people there. And we're all very conscious of that. Try to get there for our members' legislation so that it can be heard fairly.
All right, we're getting a little civics lesson from Arkansas State Senator John Cooper. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more of Community Conversations on KLEK on 2.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. If there was ever a time to engage in financial planning, choosing to become a parent is it. First, think beyond your baby's due date to get an idea of the annual cost of raising your child. Use tools offered by organizations like the USDA to get an estimate of the incremental cost of parenthood in various categories, such as housing, clothing, and transportation, and then create a budget reflecting these costs. Also, budget what insurance coverages you'll need. Be sure to do your research, starting with healthcare coverage, to make sure your child is covered on your policy from his or her due date of birth. Life insurance will ensure that your child is provided for if you or your spouse or partner dies. Lastly, disability insurance will help to cover the loss of income in the event of an illness or accident that prevents you from working and providing for your family. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
KLEK 102.5 FM is giving away free gas in February. That's right, KLEK has teamed up with Mrs. Polly's Motivational Barbecue CAB, 2098 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro in the Teletech parking lot, and the Lambda Eta chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated to give you free gas. All you gotta do is tune in to All Gospel Wednesday with Brother Cobbs every Wednesday in February from 11 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. When Brother Cobbs asks for the 10th caller, all you gotta do is call in and say, "Your life, your music, KLEK." Call in to 870-277-1080. Again, that's 870-277-1080. And you will win a $30 gift card good at any come and go gas station. KLEK, giving away free gas every Wednesday for All Gospel Wednesday in February. And remember, your life, your music, KLEK. KLEK, Mrs. Polly's, and Phi Beta Sigma, we do it for you.
House of Details, located at 3217 Herb Street, Suite C, is a proud supporter of KLEK, offering detailing on any type of vehicle. Waxing, clear coat protection, basic wash, hand wash, shampoo, interior cleaning, buffering, headlight restoration, pickup, delivery, and more. With a motto of, anything mean, we can clean. Details available via Quentin Bogard at 870-273-5187. House of Details on Facebook and houseofdetailsjonesboro.com.
Hello, I'm Officer Jonathan Hagens of the Jonesboro Police Department. One of the best decisions I ever made was to join the Jonesboro Police Department. Since joining, I've had the pleasure to give back, protect, and serve my community. Now I want to let you know about that same opportunity. The Jonesboro Police Department will conduct testing for the patrol officers at the Valley View High School. Applications are available online at jonesboropolice.com. The Jonesboro Police Department offers a competitive salary, health, and retirement benefits, top-of-the-line training, and most importantly, the chance to make a difference in the Jonesboro community. Join me in making Jonesboro a better place. The Jonesboro Police Department is an equal opportunity employer, and women and minorities are especially encouraged to apply. More information, 870-935-5657.
Applications are being accepted. Applications are available at jonesboropolice.com. Do you like the music you hear on KLEK 102.5 FM? Do you like the educational programming that we provide? Do you like the service we provide to the community? Do you like having a station to finally call your own that represents you? If so, please stop by or call any of our underwriters or sponsors that you hear on KLEK and tell them thank you for their support. The support of our underwriters and sponsors is vital for us to stay on the air. So be sure to let them know that you thank them for their support.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We are speaking with Senator John Cooper, and we can't thank you enough for joining Arkansas Senator John Cooper. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing
very much pleasure
your knowledge on all the things that, well, not all things, because this would be a 4 or 5 hour show if we went through all of the things that are going on in Arkansas Senate. But we thank you so much for coming and sharing what you have. We want to give you this opportunity to, give some shout outs or give some final thoughts. What Arkansans can expect coming up, what's going on. I know right now you say you're in the fiscal years. You're doing some bill paying and things like that. But what are some things that Arkansans can look forward to in the upcoming year?
I think, well, first of all, I don't have any bills for this fiscal session, but that doesn't mean that I'm not very active in an integral part of what's going on. One of the things that's going on is tax reform, and
everybody's like up at.
I don't know. I wasn't a part of that task force, so I'm a little bit out of the loop on that at the present time. I'm very involved in the healthcare side of it, and that keeps my plate pretty well loaded.
All right.
Agriculture also, but the things that's probably going to be more media are going to be talked about more in the media than probably most other things will be the tax reform, and I think the regulation reform that will be. I think that's going to be a heavy lift to reform that.
People have a lot of discussions on social media. I would love to see more discussions happen between the people that are actually involved in the process, such as yourself and other senators and representatives. There has been some concern about the tax plan benefiting those that make more money already versus those that fall in that middle class to lower middle class and below. So can you?
I think some of that's overblown.
Okay.
I think that's not the case that it's been indicated that it is.
Okay.
But I'm no expert on the federal tax code
yet.
I've really not studied it very close myself.
Okay.
And one of these days I'm going to have to get around to filing my own taxes, so I'll have to find out some things that pertains to me. But I'm sure that in the next little while I'll get heavily involved in what we're doing at the state level.
Okay.
And we've, by the way, we've done a lot already at the state level on reforms, but there needs to be some more structural reform.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing that, and the regulation reform will also affect a lot of the citizens, because if you go around town, people are always saying we're too heavily burdened with regulation, whether it's the individual person on the street or whether it's business or whether it's people interacting with government. And we need some structural reform. We don't need to just pick out a few regulations and say we're done.
Okay.
In fact, I've been to a conference recently on that, and what I came away from that is we really need some better oversight structurally from state government over boards and commissions.
Okay.
And we'll be very, very much involved in that.
Right.
And your listeners may listen in the next few days or pay attention to who might be named to that.
All right. All right.
From your listener's standpoint, I would like to say how they can contact me if
Yes,
they
sir,
need me.
please.
I do value constituent services they do for the help, or that I do for the help of the people in the community, and I carry my cell phone. The best way to contact me, and I think most legislators, is just give us a text. If you actually need to talk to us, you can call us, but remember, when we're in committee meetings and on the Senate floor, we can't answer the phone. So but my phone number is, if you people have a pen and paper handy, it's 870-761-0130.
And could you give it one more time?
870-761-0130. And I answer that number myself, so bear with me if I don't answer the first time. I will get back to you, or you can send me a text. Whether we're in committee meeting or whether we're on the floor, we do always watch the text, so it won't take long to get back to you in regard to that.
And what is your email address?
JN, which is short for John.
Okay.
COOPER 02 at gmail.com. There is also a Senate email that you can look up on the website that's posted there.
Okay.
And you can send to that also, and that is email forwarded to my other email. So
Okay.
I will get it regardless which one they send to.
And what is the website for the state of Arkansas where individuals can go to just look up some general information?
It's the same one that he gave out a while ago on the ArcLeg website.
Again, that is www.arkleg.state.ar.us, and the ArcLeg is Arkansas legislation. Stands for Arkansas legislation.
Yeah.
So you can find a wealth of information on that website.
Right. It's got all of our bios. It's got our legislation. It's got pending bills, committee assignments, anything that pertains to the legislature. You can find it at one website.
Well, we thank you so very much for joining us, sharing this information.
You're welcome.
With
Thank
us,
you.
and we hope that you all reach out to your state senator, not just Senator Cooper, but all of our state representatives, and share your concerns with them. That's what they're there for, to work for the people of Arkansas.
Right.
And also to Senator Cooper, I just wanted to publicly thank you over the airways. In 2016, Senator Cooper gave myself and KLEK a special Senate citation for community service, and I just wanted to publicly on the air and for our viewers to just say thank you, Senator Cooper, for that recognition. And
You're welcome. Very
it's still
deserving.
And it still hangs in the office today, and will continue to do so.
Thank you.
I'm going to say that I am blessed by being here, being a part of this radio station, so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Any shout outs that you want to give? Any personal shout outs to friends, family, loved ones?
I just want to thank the community for their support and for the interaction that I've had in the past. It's very gratifying, and I take my service very seriously, and don't know what the future holds. This last year I had a massive heart attack.
Well, we definitely
on
keep
June
you lifted
13th,
up.
But I'm doing well right now. I want the listeners to know that I'm healthy again.
Well, thank the good Lord for that, and we'll definitely keep you lifted up in prayer for continued health and continued blessings.
Wow.
And I'm doing well, so I just want the people to know that.
Thank you. All right, so we hope to have you back here in the studio or on the phone lines sometime soon, sharing more information about what's going on in Arkansas
I
Senate.
will be very happy to do it anytime that the time permits, and you have a time that you'd like to have me on.
Well, I concur. We'd definitely love to have you, and we definitely appreciate you taking the time to let our listeners know about some of the things that you are doing and giving them the opportunity to respond. And of course, as you come back on, I'm sure there'll be more listeners that will have questions and concerns, especially as more issues come up before the legislature. So once again, Senator Cooper, thank you for stopping by the studio. Thank you to each and every one of you that are tuning in on our airwaves and on our live feed and on our app. Kubila, bless you. And may each and every one of you have a great and blessed day. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.